Hello, folks, and welcome to the show. I'm Dave. That guy down there is Scott, and we are reviewing 1988's The Last Temptation of Christ. Martin Scorsese, if I remember correctly.
That is correct.
It was rated R, and there were a couple reasons, I guess, why it was rated R, but all in all, a good movie. I know that when this movie first came out, there was a whole lot of uproar about the movie, the book.
Mm-hmm.
It was against the gospel. And you said something right before we got on about you had one opinion and now you have a different opinion slightly or drastically. I'm not sure which.
What's
your opinion? What's going on?
No. Well, here's the deal. Let's back up. I'm going to say Scorsese handles all criticism at the very beginning of the movie with the title card. It pops up, says this is not based on the Gospels. This is, an interpretation. Mm-hmm. And that's what this movie is. If you go in looking at, this doesn't follow the Gospels, and that's all you're looking at, you're missing the point. You are the person that Jesus talks about when he says he spoke in parables for a reason. Those who could understand the parables would understand, and the others are out here missing the whole frickin' point over and over and over again. So when I first originally saw this, and I'm just going to chalk it up, it may be that my faith was in a different spot at the time, but I really connected with this movie on a gut level when I saw the ending, which to me, the ending, the last act of this movie is the best part. It is, this is the message. It's
the whole point.
It's the whole point. And it still hits really strong. And it is a good part of that. But there's things that bothered me about the movie, and it might have just been the dialogue. I'm not talking accent or dialect. It just the way things were worded sounded weird. And damn it, I'm watching it. I know I'm watching a Scorsese film. So it is so freaking obvious. Look at the cast.
Look at the cast.
So I'm hearing, I'll be honest, I'm hearing Willem Dafoe start to narrate, who plays Jesus. The movie opens up, I'm hearing the voice, and I'm instantly taken to Ray Liotta as Hank Hill. And we're into Goodfellas territory right off the bat. And it's like, man, Martin Scorsese's signature is all over this thing. Not a bad thing. This is unique, but the movie this time just didn't resonate as much with me. And while I enjoy the last act, just getting there, I just kind of like, and that was just the difference this time. So it was like, I didn't like it as much.
Fair enough. I'm a little bit different. I think I liked it almost as much, if not just as much as I did the first time. This is, I think, only my second or third viewing of this movie.
Yeah.
There are some things that I wish they hadn't done because I know why they did it, like the assassination of Lazarus, when the guys went back and killed Lazarus again. That never happened, to the best of my knowledge, unless there's a legend of Hebrew mythology out there that I'm unaware of, which is very possible. That never happened. The legend is, as far as I know, Lazarus is the wandering Jew, is the man who cannot die. That's my understanding of Lazarus. So when they showed that part, I was like, that didn't happen. But, and it literally almost ripped me out of the movie. But I understood why they did it. They had to show Saul not only bad, but worse than he was in the Bible, which you don't get much worse than a tax collector. Sorry. But they managed to get Saul to be a little bit worse.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I just lost my train of thought on that. But no, no, that's okay. I don't know where I was going. Wow, you got me on that one, Dave. Say something.
Mary Magdalene.
I don't remember what I was going to say. Yes, I agree. There were some parts in here that I'm like, why are you doing this? Why have you changed this? But it is for the narrative that Scorsese was trying to tell based on this book that I've never read. So apparently this is all based on a book. Folks, this whole movie, the best way for me to put this is it is a giant what if. What if Jesus was just a man and he was tormented by God and didn't want any part of it and didn't want to be the Messiah and didn't want any of that and just tried to have a normal life. And then when everything goes to shit, you're given that opportunity to get
Yeah.
that, to have that life and take that. You and
Yeah.
I would do it. You and I would do that. This shows
It's
the humanity of Jesus in it. This is why the last act
yeah.
works really well.
We haven't
And
talked about. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're
no,
still talking.
and that's what I was just saying. Oh, this is just a giant what if Jesus was
Yeah.
just a man. And that's a way to look
See,
at
and
the
I took
movie.
it just slightly different. I've read a lot of mythology. I think you have too, where like you
Mm-hmm.
have most of the demigods, like Perseus and
Right.
Hercules. They were all kind of demigods, but they never really had too many doubts. Perseus, when he's given the sword, he just, oh, I'm supposed to go kill Medusa. Okay, let's go. Oh, I got a shiny shield. Let's go. Hercules probably had the hardest time of all the Greek gods and demigods
I
because
get
his
where you're
wife
going. Yeah.
dies and he has to go to Hades. I mean, he is on a mission and he's pissed. Um, Jesus Christ is by all, if you're looking at just mythology and not Christianity, if you're looking at just mythology, he is a demigod, but he's a demigod who never wanted it, never asked for it. He doesn't understand it. He thinks he's going insane. His best friend, he's telling his best friend, I think God's talking to me, and it's driving me nuts because he's telling me I got to go do this one thing, and then he changes his mind. I think it's just a guy who is the son of God
Mm-hmm.
and doubts himself as a human would, especially if everybody told you were crazy. And then you start thinking maybe I am crazy, and then you start thinking, well, maybe I am the son of God, and then you go back to thinking maybe I am crazy. But then when he starts doing the healing, the actual healing, that's what I thought was interesting. And I think that's the point that a lot of Christians back in the day missed, and some may still miss it, is they never took anything away from Jesus being the miracle worker that he
Mm-hmm.
was. They just made him more human, which he was. God gave him all the weaknesses of a man.
Well, he was flesh and blood. And, and
Exactly. And
this
like
is
you
where,
said, that last act, especially when the little angel comes up and you think it's an angel and you're like,
well, it's an
oh,
angel,
oh,
a fallen angel.
exactly a good angel when you think it's a good angel. Uh, and you think, oh, I've done enough. Really?
We
Okay.
would, yeah.
Yeah, let's go. I'm done.
A
The
lot of, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the giveaway though, I think is when Mary Magdalene dies.
Yeah, that should have been
That's kind of the
for him
giveaway
as
when you're
well.
like, that's
Yeah, that one stank. And
yeah,
he
what's that
still,
that was my first cue as a kid. Well, I say kid, I was much younger when I watched the first time.
right.
That was my first cue as a kid that this is happening in his head.
Yeah.
And but if he'd have chosen what he chose initially, if he'd have stayed in that head, what was going on would have happened, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And
And I think a lot of reason people have issue with this type of portrayal is they have made Jesus out to be a superhero, a
mhm,
magic, a magical being, and by all accounts, sure,
mhm,
but it's it's a fantasy. It's I think a lot of the I'm the son of God. And he says multiple times we are all the children of
mhm.
God. We are all part of it. I think there's so much metaphor that
He
Jesus
says that in the
spoke
Bible
in.
too.
It
He
does,
literally
but
says that in the Bible also.
there's so much literal
Yeah.
translation, and I think a lot of it stems from people have a tendency to anthropomorphize. I can't say the word
Anthropomorphize.
God as
Right.
some like yes, we're made in His image, but what exactly does that mean? Is that
Mhm.
our spiritual being? This is a whole nother
Right,
level, and
right, right.
it's when you see it like okay, literal his flesh and blood son from this old gray haired guy or whatever. It's like no, we're talking on a
Mhm.
much deeper plane. So yes, people get lost in the minutia and just
Yeah.
you see it with the Pharisees and modern day Pharisees of
Yeah.
it says it in
Yeah.
the Bible or it doesn't say it, so it has to be this way. And it's like, all they do is gatekeep and put limits. And it's
Hmm. Hmm.
this movie, I think, really succeeds in the aspect of the what if he was just a man? And that makes it
Hmm.
relatable. And I applaud it for
Yeah.
that.
And I look at it like, yeah, it is a cross of what if he was a man, but it's also they didn't to me, the story didn't take away his hallowedness, his
Mm-mm. No,
otherworldliness at all.
no, it
And
didn't.
that's what I latch onto. I'm like, okay, they're literally showing him doing all the miracles.
Hmm.
They're literally showing him bringing Lazarus back from the dead. They show him do, the lame, making the beggars,
Yeah.
not beg anymore, and the lame, not lame.
He
They
heals.
go through
Yeah.
that, and okay, at that point, anybody watching it should have went, okay, so this is Jesus.
Hmm.
This is the Son of God. The only problem you would have with it at that point is to show that he had his weaknesses. Even in the Bible, when he's on the cross, he does ask God, "Why hast thou forsaken me?"
He had a moment
That
of
I think is what the
crisis. Yeah.
writer grasped onto when he says, "Okay, what might have been going through his head at that point?"
Hmm.
It might have been, I just wanted to be a man. Why couldn't I just be a man, have kids, have a life, I mean, there are legends that he did, get off the cross and they did save him. There are legends that that it was his twin brother who
Hmm.
was,
There's
some
so
people say
much
was,
myth and lore around it. Yes.
the my mind went blank. The guy
Sorry.
who gave him up,
Judas.
Judas. Some people say that Judas was his actual twin brother and is the guy who went to the cross. And Jesus, and it gets complicated because there's so many legends when you get out of the Bible. So
And
sticking directly with the Bible, it's a what was he thinking at that point?
mhm,
What would a man in that position think of, possibly think of? And I think the last act, like you said, was a great last act.
it is a great last act.
Yeah,
Because it does bring it home. And here's the thing that does it matter if it was accurate? Does
exactly.
it really matter if the message is still the same? This movie showed a Jesus that preached love.
Right.
So does it really matter? The
Mhm.
message is still the same. And this may not be your cup of tea. This may be a little graphic in some ways for some, but
Right.
it's it doesn't matter. The message is still the same. So I
Which is kind of what Saul says to Jesus as Jesus is
yes.
having his moment on the cross. Saul is preaching and he sees Saul and he's like, hey, I know you. You're, and
Hmm.
he's like, I'm not Jesus. I'm not that man. I'm just a man, blah, blah, blah. And Saul looks at him and says, no, my Jesus died on the cross. And if I need
Yep.
you to die on the cross to save these people and make them happy, then you died on the cross. And it's like what you
This
just
was
said. It's
this was an
exactly what you just said.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
at one hand, you're like, Paul was who was Saul,
Right.
road to Damascus. There's a whole story there, folks. Go read your Bible. Um, but he makes a valid point with a lot of religions. If
Hmm.
if if it is making you feel good and it is not hurting anyone, if you are not taking advantage of anyone, if you are not stealing somebody's money, which we all know there are people out there that do this and they prey on weakness and they're all doomed to hell. I don't care what anybody says, whichever
You're
hell it
absolutely
may
right.
be. Um, but at that point, I'm not God, I'm a guy. I'm just saying from a man's point of view, that's it. But what Saul was saying was was necessary.
It
You
was.
you
Yeah.
are you are necessary.
Hmm.
You have to be and you have to die. And that's like I think that was God poking through the veil,
Right.
telling
This
his son,
was
you have to die on the cross. And you don't
this
have to like it, but you have to. You are the sacrifice.
I saw this as Jesus's Ebenezer Scrooge moment.
Bam, bang, I'm not dying on the cross.
And then seeing what happens and why
Yes.
it's needed. And,
Yeah.
it does a good job of showing the war that has happened and the slaughter that
Mhm.
continues and stuff like that. Now, that still slaughter and war and everything still continues, and people
Right,
still miss the damn message that's right in
right.
front of their face. And Paul was right. It doesn't matter as long
Mhm.
as it's, are you leading people to God? Are you leading people to love? And that should be the universal thing. So
Yeah, the true message is what I think he was talking about.
yeah.
I like, and I thought it happened much later in the movie, but it happens very, very early in the movie when Willem Dafoe as Jesus Christ. What a freaking, what a brilliant point of casting. And
Mm.
at the time, I would have never cast Willem Dafoe as
No.
Jesus Christ. He was always known as a psycho. I mean, anything that I'd ever seen him in,
Well,
he
that
was
was
just
part of the
a nut
controversy. Is
job.
like,
He
why
was
would
always
you
a
cast
killer.
him? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's, but when you see him as Jesus, you're like, not now. But then I remember thinking, really? Really? You got this guy? Come on.
It
But
works.
I'm telling you, as that show goes on, as that movie goes on, as the story is starts expanding, you're like, holy cow, that's Jesus. That's he's
Mm.
Willem Dafoe is a good Jesus.
Yeah.
But he's cutting the lumber for the crucifix and he goes to measure how wide the lumber is because it's for a crucifix. So he's facing the lumber, the log, the T portion of it, and he's just got his arm stretched out, and he's got like marks all across his back because I think he was sleeping in the ground. So you,
Well, he was whipping himself.
oh, was he? I missed that. I must have
Yeah.
looked away. I'm sorry, but he's just got his arms worked, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that it
That's
was
a,
just at first the first time I saw it, I was like, that's kind of sacrilege. Oh no,
well,
I see. It makes
I mean,
sense.
I see it, but that whole thing of him building the crosses for people to be crucified on, to me, is a bizarre choice. It's just a choice. But
Well, that was because he was trying to deny God.
I get it.
He was trying to say, "Look, I don't care. I don't care. You can't make me, listen to you." And it was all about getting. It's like your dad's telling you, "Well, you're going to be an
Yeah.
electrician," and you're like, "Fuck you. I'm going to be a plumber." You
Right.
know.
But I, I don't know. It was a choice.
See,
It was a,
then he was a carpenter,
yes, he
so
was.
there is that point that
Yeah.
maybe his family had to do that back then. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
not.
No,
Probably.
your point is correct on why he was doing that and what they were going for. It was just a choice, is all I can say.
It
It's
is a
like,
bizarre choice, and I
it's
understand it, but I think it just worked. I think had they pushed it too much further, it wouldn't have. But well, I'm not even sure how much further you could have pushed it because,
I don't know. We go a little bit further when we hit Monty Python.
yeah,
So it's just
there
like
were a
right
couple of
on that
Monty
edge.
Python moments in there. There
Yes,
were
there
a
was.
couple of
Yes,
Monty
yes, there
Python,
was.
but they weren't funny in this aspect. But the first thing I thought of was Monty Python. Like when all,
Was it
I'm
at the
glad you
stoning?
said that.
Was it
When
at the
he's flipping
stoning?
over all the
Oh,
tables
oh, that's
and
a
he's
good
getting
one
ready
too.
to start the revolution, and the guys get him out, and all the Romans start dropping down out of the out of the ceiling.
It was like Mission Impossible, the elite Roman centurion squad.
Roman centurions attack.
Yes.
David Bowie. What a great cast. What a great moment of casting as Pontius Pilate. That was like so Kat figured out, she heard the voice, and we're both like, I know that voice. Who? David Bowie. I'm like, oh
And,
man, perfect choice.
and Peter
Oddly, a good
Gabriel
choice.
on the score.
Oh, we have the score. We actually
Yeah.
bought the soundtrack. This is a beautiful soundtrack.
It is unique.
I'm glad you said something. The whole thing is just a gorgeous.
Well, the production values are up there. The sets are beautiful.
Mhm.
It works as a great what if story.
Right.
I for me, I still enjoyed it to a degree.
Mhm.
I took I just didn't have the great vibe that I had from the first time I watched it. So it
Things
was,
kept taking you out of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I
things
get
kept
it.
taking me
I
out
get
of
it.
it.
Like
The
the one big.
dialogue, the yeah.
See, and the dialogue doesn't bother me because I think when Scorsese and Schrader wrote it, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's his
Paul
right.
Schrader, which is, yeah.
Yeah, Paul Schrader, and there was somebody that helped them write this and fixed a lot of the problems in the storytelling. And I forgot who the person's name
Huh.
is. But there was another writer involved that couldn't get any talent or any what do they call it when you give somebody
Credit?
props? Yeah, no, because of the WGA and all that crap.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, and I don't see it in here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
I don't see it in here. But anyway, the story I think is really well done. The the language didn't bother me because I think they just took away all the hair thus and why nots and
well, and
how
that's not
forth.
exact. It's not exactly what got me. It was just the arrangement. I don't know, dude. There was just something about the way
Something.
everything was spoken. It just pulled me out. It's like, why? And it's
Okay.
like that's what I was focusing on. It was really strange. But
Oh, okay.
you
All
know,
right.
maybe it's just me, or
I got you.
could be
No,
at
no,
least
no.
one
The
other person
first
out
time I
there.
watched it, I'm sorry, go ahead. I
No, I
talked
mean
over
that's all I'm saying. It's probably just me or one other listener.
you.
The
We
two
only
of
have
us.
one
I
other
got
listener.
you. I got you.
Scott understands.
I
Uh,
understand.
yeah. See you. See you. No, I get it. I think the first time I watched this, it kind of took me out a little bit, but I still say the one thing that really got me that I think was just a blatant, they shouldn't have done it was the Lazarus scene, the second Lazarus scene. I just
Hmm.
was like,
It felt so out of place,
yeah,
and I
that
get why it
never,
was done.
yeah, I understand why it was done. It was just clunky. It felt very clunky,
Hmm.
you know? And it would have been better had like they both walked away, like everybody walked away, and then you see to really punch up the legend of Lazarus that he is still the wandering Jew, if he would have sat up, and been like, and just kind of looked around like, what the?
And that would
See,
have made the
that
whole
to
scene
me would have been
pointless,
like
though.
another legend
Yeah,
but they
yeah,
didn't do that. And I'm fan
that was
writing, I'm
weird.
fan editing right now.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah. It
you want
might
me to go through
become.
the crew? I didn't go through the cast. I normally go
Yeah,
through the
yeah.
cast.
There's quite a few recognizable faces in here.
I will try to keep them short.
Yeah,
Woo,
until
they
we
go.
don't recognize a name, keep going.
Willem Dafoe is Jesus.
We know him.
Harvey Keitel played a great Judas.
Judas. Yeah.
Completely different way of doing thing. Barbara Hershey as Mary Magdalene. I did not recognize her
Oh, I know.
when I was watching this. I had to go into the thing where their names pop up, and I
Yes.
was like, "Oh my God!" And Kat's like, "Yeah, you didn't recognize her?" I said, "No, I had no idea." Paul Greco as one of the zealots. Steve Schill was the centurion. Verna Bloom was Mary. That was Jesus's mother, Mary. Roberts Blossom was the aged master. That's the ghost whenever he comes up to the
Oh,
that was
yeah.
a
To the
great
monastery.
scene.
That was a neat scene. I
That
forgot
was a
about that. That
great
was
scene
neat.
where he comes up to the monastery and the guy who welcomes him in and says, "No, you can sleep here." And Jesus is like, "Well, I got to meet this guy." He's like, "No, no, some master died last night and
And it
they're
was
getting
him.
ready to
He's
have a
talking to
funeral.
the master
Get
the whole
Yeah,
time.
you'll go to the funeral tomorrow, you'll meet the master kind of thing." And when Jesus walks in, the guy that he was talking to
He's on a
was
slab. Yeah.
was the guy that had died. And he tells Barry Miller, Jeroboam, like that's the guy I was talking to last night. And the guy doesn't even blink. He's just like, "Wow, really? You must be really important because he died like 3 days ago."
Yeah.
So you showing up, he seems to know who you were. So who are you? And they have that long discussion on the side of the desert. And I thought
Yeah.
that was a really good scene. Um, Gary Basaraba as Andrew the Apostle. That's who that was. Irvin Kershner was Zebedee.
God, he looked familiar.
Yeah, he's a director. Empire Strikes Back. Sorry, had
Oh,
to get the Star Wars reference in. Victor Argo was Peter the Apostle. Uh, Paul Herman was Philip. I'm looking for some names and people that you'll probably recognize. Peggy Gormley was Martha, sister of Lazarus. Randy Danson was Mary, sister of Lazarus.
yeah.
It was directed by Martin
Yeah, right.
Scorsese. Writer was of the book was Nikos Kazantzakis. It's a
Yeah.
Greek name, I think. I'm
I
gonna I'm
look
gonna pull a
appears to
muscle.
be Greek.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna get a
Um,
hernia if I try to pronounce his name, but I'll give it one more shot. Kazantzakis. I I don't know what it is. I can't pronounce it. My
yeah.
tongue
So
doesn't do what it
that
needs
was
to
who wrote the
do.
book that it was taken from. So
Yeah.
I've read some of the myths of Jesus living and traveling and going back to the
Mhm.
East and
Right,
Japan and
right.
India, where I believe Thomas goes to India. But
I believe
it's
so.
it's a neat take on it. It's a good what if uh,
Right.
mental exercise, and it does still give the same message of any other tale of Jesus. So
Absolutely.
take that as you will. It's just a different telling of it, a different style. It may or may not be your cup of tea. That's my take, Dave.
This is true. And you know what? I would agree with that. So we are not that far off.
No.
I think I enjoyed watching it this time around a little bit more than you.
Hmm.
I have one big problem, and that's the second Lazarus scene. I did enjoy the first Lazarus scene when
That was good.
Jesus kind of like having his doubt, like that should have worked, kind of thing. And then Lazarus comes out and grabs him. It's like, oh, it's funny, but it's not funny because again, like you said, there's a couple of scenes that are not meant to be funny, but I've watched so much British comedy.
Well, when they rolled the stone back at the tomb, I started giggling because it stank.
Yeah, oh yeah, and everybody, they all like people like
I
100
was just
yards
waiting
away
for
were
a
doing
mass
this.
puking, and it's like, oh God, here we go, Monty Python again. It's like there was
Yeah,
another
that's
moment.
uh,
Oh.
but I enjoyed it. I think it was cast very well. I
It
think
was.
the acting was good. If you're in I understand your problem with some of the dialect or
Yeah,
the
weird. It was weird.
words, the way
Yeah,
they were spoken, the way they were put together.
yeah.
Uh, and I get that. I enjoy this movie. I do recommend this movie. If you are super, I mean, I don't know what would make you, if you were a Christian or if you were a person of faith, I don't know why you wouldn't like this movie other than the same reasons and the same problems that Scott and I have had, which are
Hmm.
basically in storytelling, not
In
of the
storytelling, yeah,
story of
yeah.
itself, in and of itself. The message is still there. The last line that Willem Dafoe speaks, I mean, gets it. I just wish they would have showed the resurrection.
Yeah.
That's my big thing. I thought they were going to wait. See, I could have swore that they had the resurrection in it, but I didn't. I'm wrong.
No,
But I was waiting for that, and that didn't happen. But that would have been like a 5 hour movie. That as it is, it's like two and a half, 2 hours
it's
20.
pushing 3. It's
Yeah,
almost three
yeah,
hours. I think
pushing.
it's a long one. It is a long
But
one.
it's you get yourself lost. I mean, I noticed I got really lost. It was basically over before I realized it,
You're right.
you
Yes,
know.
definitely,
But
definitely. So
it's a long movie, but it's a very good movie. I like the storytelling. I like Scorsese. I think it was pretty damn daring of Scorsese back in the day to do this.
oh, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I'd say watch it if you're a person of faith. If you like,
I'd like to know what made him choose to do this because there's no way he didn't know he was going to kick a hornet's nest with this.
well, his lawyer told him not to do it. I know that his lawyer had said, "Don't you know? This
Well,
is if
as
you
an
get into
artist, the
this, you're
worst
getting
thing you
into."
can do is tell me I can't do something.
And I
you
think that's
know?
probably what it was. I think his lawyer was saying, "You're just gonna. This is gonna cause you a lot of trouble down the road. Don't do it." Is like probably a friend of his also. So I'm guessing that they've
Yeah.
known each other. But Scorsese's like, "Yeah, I'm Martin
What's the worst that can
Scorsese.
happen?
Give me my cigar. I'm gonna go do some gangster shit."
He wasn't wrong. He wasn't
He
wrong.
was not wrong. He
Didn't hurt
did
him.
cause a lot of crap. But the great thing here's the difference about filmmakers back then and filmmakers now. Hey, Martin, don't do that. People will talk bad about you. Scorsese, I'm gonna go do it. Have a nice day. Nowadays, hey, director that's mediocre at best, don't do this movie or show
Okay.
because you might get yelled at. oh, you're right. I have to be woke or politically super duper correct and just piss off everybody instead of just, a
Just
handful of
instead of just making
people.
a story. Yeah.
Yeah. Just make your movie, folks. If somebody says, hey, don't do that, just go make it. Make it good, though. Make
Yes.
it good.
There's the
That's the
caveat.
problem.
Make it good.
This was a good movie. I liked it. Scott liked it. A little bit less this time.
Yeah.
A little bit less. But
Yeah,
I do recommend it. I talk a lot whenever I'm doing a wrap up, don't I? I should
it's all
just say
good.
I like it. Let's do it.
No, it's fine. Like this is a movie that is going to hit everybody differently. And
Yeah.
depending on where you're at in life or what your beliefs are, it may hit
Mhm.
you otherwise. If you are easily offended, don't watch it because you're missing the
Yeah.
point already. Um,
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
would argue that he probably put a lot of stuff in here because he wanted a reaction, because he
Hmm.
wanted people to see what the fuss was about. And it, in turn, got people talking about his movie and in turn, talking about Jesus, which in the end, the message is what mattered. Right? So
Yep.
there we go. So,
Amen, brother.
folks, happy Easter, and we will catch you next week with something completely different.
Happy
Hit the
Easter.
hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, and thanks for coming along with the ride. With the ride, for the ride,
For
with
the
us
ride. In the
later.
ride.
In the ride, out off the ride.